everyone to the LightNet Public Hangout tonight. We are going to talk about we're going to have a panel discussion about tips to make ET contact, really led by our LightNet guides. So this is really exciting. We're going to have our groups start off this Saturday. So we have eight contact groups, each with about 8 people in it. There's a few spots left, so that's really important to know. So if you're interested in joining really great small groups, very interesting topics, please go to lightnet.org/register to get information to join the groups. And we'll have the people who are on this call today that are the guys share a bit. We'll kick it off with light language channeling. So that's really exciting. How this will work tonight, so this is in our series of public hangouts. So generally how this works is at 7:30 we have introductions and a small discussion. Then in this case, we're having the panel discussion. At 8 o'clock, we will go into small breakout rooms. So you'll be invited to enter into a breakout room, have a conversation, and then come back. During that time, the panel discussion will continue to go on, and we are recording, so you can check that out afterward. In the discussion, the prompt tonight is tips to make contacts. So we have about perhaps 5 minutes for each presenter to respond to the question, tips to make contact. And there's a few questions that I would love to hear responses to based on my own experience facilitating the ET contact through dreams group the last season. So the questions I have are like, what are you making contact with? Is it ETs, extra dimensionals, non-human intelligence, celestial, fae, angels, ancestors, spirits, energy beings, whatever, right? So how do you get specific about tuning that request of contact? Then about how do we respectfully speak with one another about contact is the other kind of question I'd love for the panelists to discuss, which is because I see in the group we ran, we talked about dreams. They're very mythic. We might understand that as testimony. But in the radio group, people were seeing pictures or very objective things. So those are streams of communication that need to be bridged. So I'm asking, how do we bridge that? And then final question is, how best can we integrate contact into our daily lives? So this is really, really, I think the most important question is how do we integrate this stuff? Because we're going very extraordinary, but how do we bring it back so that it really helps the embodiment of peace, love, unity, consciousness here and now? So like, what's the role of mindfulness in that practice? How can we respectfully study and converse with one another about these things? What about holding intentions for non-harm and benefit? And particularly, how do we allow for the wide range of contact experiences in our group to come up and through, particularly the negative to the positive? We know from the free studies that about 20% of contact experiences are maybe negative. It's somewhat like dreams where we have nightmares. This doesn't mean they're bad or horrible. It just means that we have a balance to integrate in order to have a holistic experience with it. So how do we do that is the question to the panelists. So once again, we've got the URLs that you should be aware of: lightnet.org/register to check out the contact groups, lightnet.org/wait-list. If you are really inspired to join a group, it's sold out. You can add your name to the wait list, and then we'll see how things go and see if we can make things happen in that way. The last thing I want to talk about before going into the panel discussion is dream work, primarily because the next hangout we have together is on dream work. So I'm a dream worker. I study dreams. I just entered into a PhD program. It's accredited to study ET contact and dreams. So this is a very unique situation in the PhD stuff. I'm very excited about it. But this is close to my heart. I ran the LightNet Dream Group last season, and it really has opened my mind to a lot of stuff. So the fundamental observation I have from our experiences together is that extraterrestrial and non-human intelligent contact is dreamlike, meaning it's strange, it's weird, it deals with fantastic beings. And it's understood through dreamlike ways of knowledge, like remote viewing, channeling, telepathy, mind-to-mind stuff. These are dreamlike ways of knowledge. And I'm not saying it's false or unreal. I'm just saying the only precedent we actually have in like the Western society is dreams. And so how do we work with dreams is the questions that I pose. And I look to the International Association of the Study of Dreams for ethical guidelines into that. And so I just wanted to walk through some of these principles. We're going to have experiences of working with these principles in conversation in our members workshop in 2 weeks. So sign up for that if you're curious at lightnet.org/join. And the principles that are really important are called the assignment of authority. This means that you as the dreamer are understood and respected as the final authority regarding the significance of your dream. This means nobody else can tell you what it means. And if we say that ET contact is dreamlike, and we look to the precedence of dreams to tell us how to handle dreams, we have to now respect the experiencer as the final authority regarding the significance of the experience. And that, I would say, includes what we say ontological significance, meaning is it real or not? So we understand ET contact is dreamlike. We understand that you get to say whether or not it's real, not somebody else out there. This leads to the next principle, which is respect of the dream, so that we understand that dreams are non-dual in nature. They're not subjective, they're not objective. They're happening in between, which means that we cannot reduce a dream to one interpretation. It has to be interpretable over and over again, revealing multiple depths of meaning. So in the case of experience with ET contact and non-human intelligence, we have to respect that experience by not reducing it to one single interpretation, meaning not reduce it to is it a historic event and just that? Is it a psychological event and just that? It has to bridge between that and be a source of ongoing meaning in our lives if it is understood to be dreamlike. This leads to the next principle, which is that study requires participation, which is why these ET contact groups are a great thing, is because in order to study dreams, the only ethical thing to do is engage in your own dream work. So what that means is talking about dreams, thinking about it, paying attention to your dreams, whatever. So in the case of ET contact, I say, well, you should be engaged in your own dream work and also exploring contact, either through something like CE5 or looking at your own experiences or using lucid dreams to emulate ET contact, which a recent peer-reviewed scientific paper shows that if you try, 74% of you can emulate ET contact in dreams, which I suggest perhaps is indicatory of something else happening, considering the 50% success rates of other lucid intents. But that's another subject matter. The final thing to talk about is that dreams are triggering and projection prone. So it's really important that when we engage in dream work, we're aware that they're triggering and projection prone, meaning I'll think your dream means something. Everyone thinks it means something. You're the only person that get to say what it actually means. But it may actually trigger thoughts and feelings inside of ourselves that are like nightmares or other thoughts that we have to be mindful of when we engage with this, so that when we turn to ET contact work, we have to understand that it is both triggering to some people and projection prone, meaning that I think your contact might be something, someone else might think it's something, some researcher over there might mean it's something, but actually we just have to be aware that it's nothing or everything all at once, basically, with the dream work. So if these inspired you at all, these ethical principles, if the bridge between ethics, the dreams, and ET contact inspires, then I would invite you to come to our next members-only workshop to really deep dive into how to work with ET contact experiences like dreams. And that happens in 2 weeks. 6:30 p.m. and you can sign up at lightnet.org/join. So we're going to kick off the panel discussions. Like I said, we'll have about 5 minutes to address the questions, tips to make contact. You can address any of the 3 questions or all of them. What are you making contact with? How do we respectfully talk about contact? How best do we integrate it into our lives? But I'd love to call on Carla and the the light language team to share a demonstration and then go into the panel discussion. So maybe take a few minutes to do the light language demonstration, and then we can shift into the tip to make contact.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It was really, I learned a lot from what you just shared. Thanks. I want to share that light language has many different interpretations. My interpretation is that I'm making contact with ascension and light being star people. We're not human intelligence. And to give you a little taste, I'm going to do just a couple moments and then give the mic to Joy, who we're co-guiding, of course, on LightNet for light language. We're all just going to take a moment and center. And the collective that I work with is just going to give us a really short thing. Andrega Shondong, Andrega, Andrea Johnson, and the Shendere Cototoni, Andrega Ingarisha, Sandra Catreo, Contishatria. Thank you so much. And I'd like to have Joy, if she'd like to share anything about her experiences.
Okay, sorry, I just got booted off, so I missed whatever you said, Carla, earlier. So, you want me to, did you talk already then, Carla, about light language?
Short light language. Sure. If you wanted to share a couple moments of your experience with light language.
Yeah, I'd love to. Light language for me has been something that I've been following for, I don't know, almost 30 years, I guess. I had colleagues that started to speak it, and I'm a healer of 40 years, so I've been around the block, right? And lots of modalities and lots of courses. So it was pretty stunning when people started to speak light language, and I was like, oh, I could never do that. It's like, that was my thinking. And then over the last 5 years, I had a lot of stress with my husband's illness, and I would crawl into bed and I would be so stressed and distressed, and I'd just be trying to go to sleep, and all of a sudden I just started channeling light language. And the comfort, the comfort and the healing and just the sense of being so loved and so, like just enveloped in love and supported is why I want to, support Carla in doing the light language thing. After Zenka asked us, it was like, what? Okay, yeah, sure, we can do that. Be great, right? Because I just wish it for everybody, that they could have their own, their own connection. And in terms of connecting to ETs, I was one of the ones, I was taken when I was really little. I was so excited. Thought I was on the greatest adventure ever. Got a little messed up one time when I felt everybody else's fear, and that kind of confused me because I was really young. But I've seen ETs, I've seen ghosts, I have mediumship abilities too. So the tip for opening to that, and 2 tips. One is to know that it all exists, everything exists. And so, it's just not something you're hearing about that could be true. It all exists. And once you decide where you want to plug in first, whatever would be your that would draw you, that would sort of interest you, it has to be what interests you. So if you want to communicate with your grandpa, then you can. So you go for that. You don't go for, oh, I want to go up to a spaceship, if you're, really terrified of like, oh my God, what's going to happen to me? No, don't start there. But, yeah, I mean, I've had amazing experiences, and I can't, and I just think light language is just, it's a gift to give yourself. So yeah. Any other questions, Daniel, I should be answering on that, or is that?
Oh, integration would be great. So you've had these experiences, you've sort of sometimes excited, so you mentioned a sort of energy thing happening or whatever, the fear feeling. How do you integrate all of these experiences? How do you integrate the sense of everything is existing in like everyday consciousness? Yeah.
In everyday life. Well, because I just have it's like having radio stations that come in and go out, right? So, using your consciousness and your awareness and developing yourself is something that if you want to do this, any kind of work, you need to kind of do that. Meditation's a huge basis, right? I guess it's just doing it. It's just choosing it and doing it. It's like talking to the animal, your dog, and knowing your dog can communicate back to you, and trusting yourself in developing that inner language with him, or that telepathy, right? Getting a heads up. It's like, oh, there's something I need to be aware of today. You're getting in your car. You have to listen to yourself, and you have to trust in all the little messages that, are coming your way. And those messages are different for different people, depending on your senses. Your inner senses are different than everybody else's. And you just have to learn that inner language and have fun with it. Most of it all is having fun with it. For me, I've had a lot of fun with it. So, yeah, I think that would be just practice, practice, practice. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. I know I love light language. I did this today. I don't know if you can see it. It's like doodles and glyphs and stuff. It's like a sort of written light language. I've been doing that since I went to grad school, and I took all my notes in that language. I still can't read them, but it's something, it brings in energy and different frequencies. So
yeah, very much like sigils, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that experience, your experience and wisdom. Thank you, Carla, for sharing the transmission. I see that we have Eriko on the call, who is leading a group. I wonder if, I see you're on mute. Perhaps you can unmute if you'd like to come in and share a little bit of wisdom, some of the tips to make contact. I did ask a few questions about who are you making contact with, how do you integrate it, and how do we speak about it? So any tips to make contact?
Hello. Well, I just came back from Japan, doing some seminars, trying to contact with UFO with the radio meditation together, and also did the spoon bending party. And what I learned was that intention is very important. And for the UFO watching experiment, I totally forgot about it. We did the meditation, and the radio was set up beforehand. And what happened was that I have been doing experiment here, in Seattle. So often I get the response to the radio. But in the experiments I did in Japan, radio was quiet every time, mostly during the time that we are together, experiment with the new people. And then after the party is over, the radio started talking. So I think what I was missing was to really communicate with intention in the beginning. And also I learned afterward from Jimmy, who studied the radio communication, that, oh no, sorry, not Jimmy, the Mark, who studied the Hugh meditation, that we need to give permission to the ET, that we allow them to show up in the beginning before the meditation. So that was what I was missing. So I'm introducing the remote viewing to the Japanese people. There are many interesting people who have a different skill sets to communicate with ET, but because of the language barrier, they are not in this community yet. So I am hoping to bring in people from Japan. At the beginning, I'm introducing the remote viewing.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That sounds really exciting. I'm always interested in like the cross-cultural kind of comparisons and like, is it land we're on that's changing? Is it the culture? What's going on? So that's a really interesting question.
Oh, well, the one thing that I noticed was that the people in Japan are shy. So I heard afterward, actually, I think I saw something in the sky from many people. They didn't verbalize during the watching party because they are not comfortable, they're not secure to say. So that was very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I see or that we're seeing in this community is that the sharing of the testimony actually creates space for other people to share their testimony and say things. I can't tell you how many times people have like when I've talked to them about their incredible experiences, they go, "Oh yeah, I had that and that and that," sort of thing. But speaking out loud. The other thing that I see happening is people are having, sometimes they remember things, sometimes it's pushed to the mind because it's too hard to deal with. And just like dreams, they sort of can come back. Like if you walk through the day and you're like, oh my God, I remembered a dream from this morning because it reminded you. Sometimes these testimonies that people are sharing, like your testimony about radio contact or anything else, will trigger memories. And that's one of the reasons why I'm saying ET contact and dreams are triggering, because they might trigger memories of contact that you might want to deal with or think about. I'd love to bring in any other of the LightNet guides right now. I know we have the telepathy teacher coming in a bit later. And there's also a video I want to make sure we play. So is there any other LightNet guide before I play the video? And then we'll likely see how it goes, but maybe we'll open it up for kind of more of a discussion space. I would love to hear some of the wisdom that our participants have too. So we'll navigate that after the video. I'm going to put on this video. It is going to take me a second to figure out how. And this is the guide about astrology. So I'm going to share this and I'm going to press play.
Oftentimes when we think about ET contact, the first question we have is, who are we supposed to contact? Is it the Palladians, the Syrians, the Andromedans? Who is it, right? Well, Leo's designed a special experience.
Can you increase the volume, Daniel?
That are lucky enough to be in his group, where he's going to take your entire birth chart, each one for every person, and he's going to look at what were present at your time of your birth, and also what is present today. Then he's going to teach you how to soul travel, which is astral traveling, and remote viewing to actually take you to those places. He's an incredible guy. He has a podcast. He's been doing therapy and astrology for so many years. He does astrology reports. And so all of this incredible knowledge he's bringing into this contact. And it's going to be an incredible, incredible experience.
Hi, this is Leo Knight in Eriko, and I'm starting a new course through LightNet that's called Perspectives from the Sky. It's going to be a combination of two things. The main focus is going to be making contact with beings. Secondarily, we're going to do astrology. I'm going to get the birth information for each person so I can see what their natal chart is. I'll also be looking at where the planets are now in relationship to the original planetary placements for each person. That'll tell me what kind of transformational crisis or change a person's going through at that time. And then after I take all that, when we start our class, I'm going to use the information to help me to know what are the planets that people will be, it'll be more conducive for those people to have good experiences. Yeah. Because of the planets in their chart that are focused. And we'll be using meditation, guided meditation. I'll be guiding people through a meditation where they'll be doing either like remote viewing or soul travel in order to make the contact in these other planets with beings. That's going to happen. People are afraid of reality. And the reason they're afraid of reality is because they think that reality is going to take them into some dark, horrible places. But the kind of reality I'm talking about, which is where truth really lies and where love really sits, that kind of reality takes you into magic, takes you into synchronicities, symbols, new age consciousness, not into things that are dark. I mean, sometimes you run up against things that are a little bit dark, but overall, It's magic because you're into the nature and the naturalness of the universe. And that's why things are magical, because the universe is magical.
So if you're curious about astrology, you're curious about ET contact, and you're curious about getting the skills you need to have repeated experiences, to get the information that is just for you, this is the one you're going to want to sign up for. Again and again, UFO and UAP reports are showing up more dramatic every time. Is it possible that your curiosity is growing and growing? Is it possible that you've even considered what would it be like for yourself to have ET contact? Or maybe it's just BS. Maybe it's just the rambling daydream of some attention seekers. My name is Zenka, and I'm here to tell you, without a doubt, ET contact is possible.
And I really do feel like that's what we're doing here. Even though we are actually making contact, we're bringing in this like really loving, high vibe energy and consciousness and awareness, and is existing in all of us. And I think everyone's feeling it. So I just wanted to like acknowledge that and say thank you for going on this journey with us.
So if you're sick of being taught at and want to experience a total revolution in education and your life, register below. The link's right there. It's lightnet.org/registration.
Zenka is so awesome. If that class was available at a time I could take it, I'd so be in it. That astrology. I love astrology. Absolutely love it. Yeah. Studied it a lot. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Yeah, anyone that is watching that wants to sign up for it should go to lightnet.org/registration. So right now is the typical time we go into breakout rooms. So I will start that going on. And if you want to have a small group conversation of about 4 people, if I can figure it out, hang on a second. Then you go into those rooms. If you don't want to and you want to stay in with the main group, you're welcome to. We are recording this so you can catch up on it later, so you don't feel like you have to make a choice. And when the other teacher, the telepathy guide comes in, we'll invite her to share her tips for making contact. Otherwise, we will have this conversation about tips to make contact with each other in this group. So I'm going to do that now. Create these groups. And you'll be invited to the groups. You can go or stay as you want. And I would love to just now open it up. In the groups, I'll give you a 2-minute warning so you'll come back. But I'd love to just open it up for anybody that has a particularly strong sense or awareness of tips to make contact, particularly with these questions. So if anybody would like to open up that or reflect on that, please raise your hand or let me know.
I think Babaji was raising his hand.
Oh, great. Yeah. Hey, Babaji, do you have some wisdom to share with us? He's in a breakout group. So, well, one of the things we could do, unless someone is particularly inspired to share any wisdom, is to engage in some mindfulness practice, actually. Joy, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know you're a teacher, so perhaps you would enjoy guiding us in mindfulness practice together. Otherwise, I'm happy to take it on.
Well, mindfulness I haven't done for probably 30 years, so you can do it. I've done other forms of meditation.
Oh, great. Yeah, maybe we'll shift it over. So I'd invite everyone to just come into presence together. And the way that we'll do that is just by observing our breath together. The way you can observe your breath is just by paying attention to it. So you pay attention to it simply by feeling what it feels like to be breathing. And so this can be sensations in the body as the breath moves around. It might be the sensations in the nostrils. It might be the sensations of the body moving in and out, the belly moving in and out. As you tune into the belly, it's a really great time to invite a sense of relaxation and natural presence. Because if you're holding any sense of tension there or needing to be a particular shape, you can just simply release that and be present. So we're just creating moments of presence together. As I offer the series of suggestions and instructions, just know that you can just be present with your breath. Breathe in and out. I think this is one of the most important things we can do to make contact, most importantly with ourselves, then with others, and with the cosmos. Just being present, tuning in to the physical sensations, what it feels like to breathe. You can allow your attention to move through any of the sensations that you're feeling. You might have sensations of heat or coolness, wetness or dryness. Whatever you're experiencing is perfect. We'll just practice mindful presence just for a few moments together, perhaps a few minutes, allowing for us to be present so that we can really tune into our intentions as to contact, to create spaces of invitation and permission within ourselves to make contact with ourselves, make contact with the world. Because unless we're present, we're actually in a world of illusion. A moment ago, a moment in the future. But contact happens in the now. We can invite that contact just by being present here and now with our breath. Allowing any thing you notice to arise. Your attention is moving through your sensation and you're discovering energy. That's wonderful. Just allow that to happen and be present with that in the way that you're present with your breath. You might have thoughts or feelings, and you might even be tuning in to sources of wisdom that are commonly understood to be galactic or non-human or anything like that. You might be tuning into wisdom of yourself. Allowing for that wisdom to come in, inviting and permitting wisdom and connections that are wise and well, according to the principles of non-harm, for the benefit of yourself, your community, and the earth, for the purpose of deeper embodiment of peace, love, unity consciousness, here and now in this body that's practicing mindfulness, just by observing the sensations of breath, whatever else is coming up. Doing the practices of being present now to practice and pave the way for contact that happens only in the now. Simply by being present with the breath now, you're giving yourself an opportunity to practice what it might be like to be with another, what it might be like to make contact with one of the others. You can practice that by discovering what it's like to contact yourself here and now, in this moment, yourself perhaps as another. Take a few moments to explore this. It's by being present with your breath, whatever's coming up. Take a few more breaths here in this state. And I'm going to ask for wisdom or communication to arise in your consciousness, in your experience. Allow that now to come into your heart, a message, a gift, or a communication sent for the purpose of healing, insight, and transformation from sources that are wise and well according to the principle of non-harm, Allow this to come into your consciousness. Explore it in the same way you explored your sensations of breath. Being present, allowing this to happen. A few moments to allow this contemplation to find a natural pausing place, conclusion, and send gratitude to yourself, to all aspects of yourself that have participated in this, to all sources of wisdom that have communicated with you here and now. And then just come back to the presence here and now, beingness here and now. Open your eyes and be present. Thank you. I'd love to see if anybody had an experience they'd like to share or anything like that. Yeah.
I can go ahead and share something, Daniel. Felt a lot of energy moving in different areas of my body, but especially it went right down into my feet, which I've had some neuropathy since I had COVID, and I'd had Lyme before that, so it just triggered it all back. I had gotten rid of it, but I'd healed it, but it came back with the COVID, and so I could feel all this space opening as the energy was moving, and this coolness, but this incredible circulation. And then when you asked about tuning into any wisdom, what came was just that we're so conditioned and so used to looking outside for, you know, that newness or that information, but the gifts are really within us. The knowing is inside. So that meditation lent itself very well to that. Yeah, thank you. It was lovely.
Thank you. Any other reflections or feedback right now from anyone who participated in that meditation, or anyone that's coming back from the breakout rooms? If you have any insight or tips to make contact. A stone habit. Yeah.
Hi, Daniel. Hi, group. Okay. I'm a regular contactee. I have beings of different sorts come in, and they use dreams. They use different states of, you know, frequency that we get ourselves into. And when I listen to people talking, it's almost an automatic connection now to accessing the different beings that they encounter, that they communicate with. So the main thing that I have when we go into communication is when we receive the signals, because we have to attune ourselves to the signals that come in. We have to give our respect to ourselves and acknowledge what is happening around us is real, and that other participants around us may not see it or hear it the way that we do. So we have to come back into common law, and show those around us the easiest way that we are perceiving it, how it happens to us through our senses that we can identify. So in giving respect to the knowledge that we have, allowing ourselves to make mistakes gives us room to grow. Then we give clear intent. It's like the old saying, be careful what you wish for, because you'll get exactly that. You may not know what's in front of you until you've had to step back. So be aware of what it is that you are seeking when you go into any form of communication with any of the beings, dimensional, more solid form, wherever, okay? Because when you go down this track, I tell you, it's a ride. So tuning in, you get different senses from different beings that are coming in. Whether or not you agree to the contact, to the communication, you have to set your boundaries, be respectful of theirs. You have to set a form of communication, okay? Some will get it in flashes, Some will get it in frequencies. There's lots of ways it comes in. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It doesn't mean you're, because somebody else gets it differently. Respect each other's boundaries, clear intent, and respect each other's boundaries. If they break your boundaries, you step up the mark and you say, no, this doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Okay, respect each other's boundaries. So this is one of my topics, mate. I'm a lifer, so.
Beautiful, thank you. That's really good advice. Some of the experience I have in working with people, because I do like hypnosis and dream work service with people who sometimes have unwanted contact, is really the letting people know that you do have some level of choice, that really mindfulness and intention and permission and boundaries are really important to know. And that one of the things I wish someone would have told me a long time ago is that with shifting unwanted contact, it is like shifting any other behavior pattern, like quitting smoking or coffee or whatever, is that sometimes you have to allow for that communication of boundary to go through the subconscious layers of your mind that sometimes open the doors for you in self-sabotaging ways. So that's really important to acknowledge, that if you're perhaps practicing meditation and going like, why am I still having weird experiences or unwanted contact, and I'm practicing and setting up my boundaries, it's like, oh, it might be good to look deep inside. And it's somewhat, I use the metaphor of quitting smoking. At that point, if you've done that, that sort of thing, like there may be some other things to look into. But generally we see pretty good responses to mindfulness and like intention, which is beautiful. So I see Ashley Lee is here. Thank you for being here. We've been having a discussion about tips to make contact. We've introduced the LightNet groups. You're leading 2 of them about telepathy. So I'd love to give you some space and time, Ashley, to talk about what telepathy is, what the groups you're leading, and then perhaps spend a few minutes sharing with us some wisdom regarding tips about making contact.
Thank you. It's so nice to meet everyone. I apologize for being a little later. I just had another appointment. I am calling in from San Diego, California, and met Zanka. I haven't met you, Daniel, yet in person, and met many people over in Sedona. And it's a beautiful place and a beautiful gathering place. The opportunity with meeting Zinka at several different parties one weekend, as many of us are all co-collaborating over there in that area of the world. I met Zenka, and she had some ham radios at her house at a party, and she was sharing a little bit about what that meant. And so in that context, I got to experience ET contact through the radios, and they were responding with, I'm not very familiar with walkie-talkies, or ham radios, and so I'm getting an upgrade version of what that is. And so they were coming in with blips and clicks and staticky noises, and it was very interesting because it was very purposeful, very meaningful, and actually had tremendous value. And so in that process, I had the opportunity of sharing a little bit of my background. I'm a retired registered nurse of 32 years in pediatric critical care. So I have taken care of newborns, all ages of kids, and with all different areas of problems and challenges, needing life support. And then also in the cardiovascular ICU in Honolulu, in San Diego, and in North Carolina. So I've been around the block for a little while, working in areas helping kids connect to their ability to heal themselves. And through that process, about 12 years ago, I healed asthma and allergies in myself and woke up to the energy healer that I've always been and didn't know it. I thought everybody does what I do and everybody does what they do, and we all share together. And I didn't realize that I had those capacities and those situations until I opened the window of healing my own challenges energetically through the physical. I didn't do any of the, if you could call it, the deeper emotional, mental, or spiritual work just yet. It all came through the physical realm. And I knew energetically it was leaving my body. And so from that time, the universe opened up, and that was in 2010. And everyone started walking into my life. I walked into present time and started recognizing that there was more to healing than Western medicine, so to speak, or allopathic disease-based medicine. And so in this process, I started a private practice and started seeing kids and families. Most of the kids were highly sensitive, highly energetic, highly psychic, having high energetic sensitivities with autoimmune and other challenges that were physically based. Then moved into the realm of understanding that really the aspects that I needed to share was learning how to language all of this energy healing to parents and adults. So spent a lot of my time in practice working with adults and parents and practitioners, learning about how to access their own energy healing within themselves, called self-healing. And so in this process, helping the children really become the truth of themselves so that they can be fully expressed in their world, bringing forward their giftedness in everyday practical environments. So in this process, I am now on a journey in creating global energy mastery schools around the world that contribute preconception, conception, through gestation, through birth, through infancy, all the way to young adulthood, supporting children and their parents, understanding how to master their energy physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, so that they have an opportunity to optimize their relationships with themselves, each other, and the environments they create, thus ushering in the whole new world that we're all present to creating and contributing to in our unique giftedness. So I come with a lot of psychic abilities, and I always wondered why that was, and now I understand. It's to support the children and understand what they're working through, to develop curriculum and understanding, to master their energy in all these different realms. And one of the realms is telepathy. And so I was born an extreme telepath, wondering why. And then my inner guidance tells me one morning when I'm in the ICU and I have a little baby hooked up to life support on a specialty bed, and said, "Why is my telepathy so off the scale?" And my higher self says, "Well, how's the baby doing?" And I said, "The baby's doing fine. Baby's asleep," and et cetera, et cetera. And then my higher self says, "What is the baby thinking?" And I said, "Well, the baby's not thinking right now. Baby's sleeping and doing really well, considering." And my higher self is joking with me and says, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, that makes sense. I'm telepathic to support giving words to those who can't speak for themselves in the moment." And so learning the practical applications of telepathy and what it really means versus when I was little, I don't want to hear everybody's stuff. So I shut it down when I was littler because, we were kind of a focused society on thinking negatively versus thinking positively. So being surrounded by people and places and things in our lives that are negatively focused or fear-based focused was something that I needed to master and learn myself. So in that process, helping children, really making it be okay, that it's okay that we're telepathic, that we're connected, that we can hear each other's thoughts and feelings and situations and energy, and bringing that forward. And the reason why telepathy here for adults and then telepathy for kids and parents was because in the experience with Zinka and her ham radios and ET contact, it was very clear the frequency of who was coming in, where were they coming in from, what dimension they were coming in from, and then what they were sharing directly and indirectly with yes, no questions, then clapping. I don't know, it was really neat how Zinka and the team were developing different ways to get very simplistic answers. And then they started talking very telepathically to me and sharing with me challenges that they're speaking to us, I guess, lay people or light worker people or people who are not in the government and not with treaties and all this stuff, intergalactic warring, let's just say, or energy wars or different things like that, and why the ETs are here to support us through this transition and all of that. They explained some of the challenges that if we started responding from the telepathy with accurate answers and accurate questions than those listening on planet Earth that, through Alexa and other things, maybe even Zoom. But anyway, those listening, what happens was that they wanted to not break their treaties with the governments in different things. And so that got Zinka excited, and then they started to share how they could go through her phone, then through the Bluetooth, then turn on music in her house. It was very fascinating. So they started to share how intricate it was, and we all decided that we're kind of over it. And yes, we're all censored and it doesn't matter. And really, when we speak in higher consciousness to each other, the lower consciousness beings that are busy trying to regulate everybody and tell everybody what to do and censor everyone, that we can all to collectively move beyond that. And so those were some of the references on creating telepathy classes in here, helping people really connect on a deeper level to ourselves, to each other, and to the non-human intelligence as well on all levels, like you're just speaking into angels and other ascended masters, other people who have passed away. I even mentioned the idea of talking about it with kids, to the trees, to the birds, to the clouds, to the earth. So all levels of sentience that we may or may not be aware of just yet.
Wonderful, thank you. That's really beautiful. I know, looking at ET contact from the lens of like dream thing, everyone, all the ET beings seem to be talking telepathically. It's a rare occasion to actually have people share the testimony of words or things like that. I would say that's 10 to 1, telepathy to verbal stuff. And that's just not, that's not a statistic I know for sure. I think the free survey did something on that, but that's just my experience. Everyone's telepathic out there. So it's a really good idea to study it and practice it. Turns out that like wolves, dolphins, crows, and humans are telepathic beings. We just don't really know it. I was wondering, I mean, if you had a personal experience perhaps of telepathy with ET, Ashley, that you might just talk a little bit more about. I know that you've talked about relating to these different frequencies through the radio. It's one of the more fascinating things to me when I engage with radio contact is half the group goes, turn off the radios. I just need to hear them better, right? And then the other half of the group goes, oh my God, the radios are going off. So perhaps even, I mean, and then we even have those experiences of discovering that the telepathic sources of communication are somewhat always there, sort of like memories of dreams or connections. So I'm curious, like it's just tuning into a frequency, but how do we move from that sort of fascination with just the radio to understanding there's a couple different modes of communication going on, to going, hey, this communication may have been happening all throughout Western history, even if we haven't acknowledged it. So maybe having gone through that journey yourself, what might you say to people contemplating going on that journey with the groups of LightNet? Yeah.
Those are great questions. I sense, first of all, that when we have the radios, it's kind of neat because they can pop in and it's like a doorbell and they ring the doorbell. Because we might be in another kind of conversation with other people in the room or with ourselves or something else. So it's a nice way for an electronic or technological instrument called I think they're walkie-talkies, aren't they? But I could be wrong. Maybe they're ham radios.
Oh, they're ham radios. The walkie-talkies are defined by specific frequencies. The ones that are suggested by Blanchett and Sims are shortwave radios that are specifically tuned to legal frequencies to listen and broadcast on.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Something to be mindful of. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for the education on that. So having those radios is an opportunity for them to kind of come in and say hello, which is kind of nice. I sense we can connect with specific ETs on specific ships. I've talked to commanders on ships and other things, especially over in Shasta with other people who are kind of bringing in the energy collectively I noticed that they kind of like that versus a singular communication. Living on ships, you're in a different world and you're in a different environment than we are being on a host planet that hosts our air and our water and our food. And so our whole perspective is a little different in protocols and understanding how to live. So that was very fascinating to learn from them about what that meant, and gave a very different perspective. Also, culture, it's very interesting to experience different cultures. That they express it through their protocols, but and how they communicate and what they are choosing or not choosing to communicate about is very interesting too. I think they study us in Sedona and the area there. It's undeniable how many ships are above us at nightfall, looking through military grade night vision goggles or anything, even just with our naked eye, you can see them. I talk to them telepathically that way. I kind of go, what are you doing up there? You're just flying around watching us like little ants. And they're like, and they have different kind of answers. It's kind of cute. I don't know that they have as much of humor as we do down here, that we can laugh at ourselves a little bit. When I was utilizing the radios, I actually talked to them more telepathically through me versus through the radios. It's like the radio worked like a desktop speaker, like you were on a conference call. And so everyone could hear the same thing through the radio, the blips and the noises. So everyone could have a same consensed idea of how that conversation works. So if they answered, I think it was 1 for yes or 2 for no or something like that. Anyway, whatever system everyone used, then the other human people in the room could start to gel with it, and then maybe start to pick up on the same telepathic frequencies. Because I sense many of us, all of us, use different frequencies, or we're in different frequencies when we start to communicate. So it starts to like, are we communicating, or are we missing the frequency, or are we joining together? So it provides a little bit of other auditory input that can help us really connect on different levels. So there's lots of opportunities related to what way would be the best way. I don't know if that helped answer some of the questions.
Thank you. It is. It's wonderful. Joy, go on.
Do we have time? I just wanted to say, Carla and I were both in the radios class with Zenka, the first go around, and it was fascinating. And I, with my radios, a few of us were having trouble with just when they were really staticky and noisy. And so, I'd turn them off and turn them on. And then when I was in the class, though, I always had them on. And they would start chirping like crazy when a couple of the people would really talk about stuff, right? It was just like they get all excited. And then a couple of times I just had them all of a sudden, like, I don't even know how to describe it. It wasn't just chip, chirp, chirp, and whatever. It was more like static, except all of a sudden it was a transmission. And I could feel myself go into an altered state a couple of times. And I just heard telepathically, listen. And it was just frequency and a transmission. And it was just amazing. I had such an expansive experience from both. It was twice that happened very powerfully for me. So I think it depends. Everybody gets something different, like in our class, there were so many techies. And it was just like really techies, and some of us that were not. I was not. And so it was just everybody played with it differently, and you interface differently. But I think that telepathy is, I think I'm very, very telepathic, but I think if people aren't comfortable with their telepathy, they should be jumping into your class, honestly, because Ashley, it's gonna take them so far, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I really agree. And when the radio started blipping really significantly, you could tell it was a transmission, and they were somewhat expanding the range of the technology of these